Hello and welcome. You tuned to the Leg Up, your weekly thoroughbred preview podcast. And no man barely standing, no Paul Mawadi, Stephen Hunt.
Yeah, scratching. Where is he? What's happening? Golf?
Good question. Yeah, no, we're not too sure. Yeah, golf. Yeah, it'd likely to be golf.
It's a safe bet.
Not too sure that it is, but no Paul Mawadi, unfortunately, today. But we have got a surprise for you, a nice little substitute that stepped into the chair for us. We'll introduce in a few minutes, Steve. How was last week?
Travis Day at Te Rapa. Thought it was a really nice card. A couple of key features. Bonnie Lass was outstanding, I thought, from a wide gate, and the breeders beating the boys and the girls.
Very good.
I thought the Fearless one is a real progressive up-and-coming stayer. Not sure how many starts he's got left this campaign, whether the stable turn him out now, but next season he looks to be a progressive stayer, maybe open class. Look, his figure wasn't overly flash, and he didn't beat a huge amount on Saturday, but just trusting the eye around the Fearless one. And I'll let the boys touch on To Alyssa in the ride. Michael McNabb gave that individual in her swan song. But look, I do want to touch on the James Wellwood camp. Just since the 16th of April, so we're talking roughly 3 to 4 weeks, they've had 25 runners, 7 winners, a median price of $6.50, winning strike rate 28%, market expectation 16%, so they're exceeding the key market expectation line. Okay. Profit on turnover, this is the key. So if you're backing all runners quoted $6.50 or less, so at the pointy end of the market, horses that are right in commission when they're taking their point in their individual races, profit on turnover is at an incredible 174%. So you're backing James Wellwood team in the last 3 to 4 weeks. At the point end of the market, you're cleaning up. So a stable you want to be following, maybe until the tracks start to decrease in terms of rain-affected going. I think they turn a lot of their horses out. But, for example, they've got 4 runners at Te Rapa, and they're all genuine chances in the individual respective races.
So we get on tomorrow.
Oh, well, let's just talk about that in more depth throughout the show. But definitely a stable that are flying at the minute. Okay.
And I see you got the Fearless one in to your preamble there. Was your bet of the week last week, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 or 3 on the bounce, you know me.
Yeah, exactly. You are back, and the man that is back is Brendan Popper. Well, good morning to you, BP. Gold Coast Seagulls.
Yes. Hello, Thad. And Stephen. Yes, love to always try and bring it back to a team that was I was supporting back in the 90s. To the Fearless one. Interesting to hear too, Stephen, you spoke about that horse, that, you know, there's a few other big races in mind for this horse, this preparation. Robbie Patterson coming out and talking that they're just going to keep an eye on him and the prospect of maybe him joining his Australian camp in Queensland. So the way that he's dealt to his rivals, who, you know, certainly he was a lot better than what he did beat. It was a positive ride from Craig Grills and he put them away. So watch the space around the Fearless one. But yeah, great weekend of racing, and we see jumps racing back. And of course, we don't see the steeplechase races because we've just had no rain. We've had no rain here in the Waikato, but we've got ourselves a jumping race to kick off the program. And I think a really good move by those in charge to move the Waikato hurdles and steeplechase to later into the winter. Now, this was done during programming. It wasn't just made up last week, but it's to move it into a right spot where they'll get their opportunity to run on the right ground they need. So look out for that on the 18th of June, as opposed to what would normally be 2 weeks from this Saturday for the Waikato hurdles and Waikato steeplechase. But yeah, good racing, good card of racing coming up.
Yeah, just touch on To Alyssa for us, BP, because Steve mentioned the ride from Michael McNabb. Yeah, took bad luck out of play, perhaps, is the best way to describe it.
He just nailed it, didn't he? He was on the best horse in the race. He put the best horse in the right spot. And really, once she found that position, she wasn't going to lose, was she? She was in a dominant position, and she put them away. And look, it's a great way to sign off your career. She's had a fantastic career, hasn't she? A brilliant 3-year-old filly. She was able to gain that Group 1 victory. She's got a whole host of black type through her racing career. So, yeah, well done to how well they've placed her in terms of James and Wellwood and the Trelawney stud team. So, yeah, we'll be looking out for her progeny on the ground, that is for sure.
Absolutely, we will. Now time to introduce our able substitute, more than able substitute. Aidan Rodley joins us via blinder. Good morning, Aidan. Synthetic track meeting yesterday at RICCARTON looked like it went pretty well.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? Great to be able to welcome that new surface in the style that we saw as well. Saw 7 really good races, obviously. New winners, first-time winners of races and things, and new track records and all these sort of things that we're going to have to benchmark from here on in. But obviously, there was, I thought it played really well. So we got a couple of bigger fields towards the end of the card, and that sort of really opened it up from what we did see in those sort of 7 and 6 earlier on where they were speed and fence dominated. So it was just tempo, I think, but the surface played really well, and yeah, it's just good to get it off and running again. There's another meeting there in 2 weeks' time on a Thursday where there isn't a Saturday meeting, which I think has probably impacted on numbers. So I expect bigger numbers for that one.
Absolutely. Great to have Aidan joining us. Steve, to speaking about benchmarking, you know, a new track, I mean, that'll be, you know, a challenge, I guess.
Very much a challenge. It was a challenge when Cambridge came into play roughly or around about 10 or so months ago. So, yeah, it'll be fascinating to try and crunch the numbers. It'll take a while to really get some sounding, some foundation around the database, but does make it tricky, but we'll give it a crack.
Yeah, absolutely, we'll give it a crack. Okay, BP, we're going to come back to you. For your ever popular Maiden of the Week, where'd you go?
All right. Well, we went to the race meeting last Friday. I think we waved a pretty loud signal towards this horse on the end of our show last Friday, suggesting this was a bet. Boy, was she a bet or what? In Ecstasy. This horse was terrific when putting them away. Look at the stretch on the horse, put them away. There was money for the runner. Soon as the early whistle was there for this horse, they wanted to climb in. Cody Cole and their team. And the social racing team, aren't they having a run? Brent Cooper, and we know that Aidan Rodley knows all about getting involved in those type of syndicates with what happened on Saturday just gone with Bonnie Lass. This is a nice horse to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. It was impressive. Look, that looked a competitive maiden on paper, Steve. It was many chances, but in Ecstasy, very impressive.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few winners jumping out of that particular race that will be very competitive in maiden class. Just on the pedigree, the Dam La Valletta won 4 races. Her best performance was 5th in the Lightning Stakes back in 2014. The overall rating in that particular race was 2 lengths above maiden class. You line it up against Florence Nightingale's 12:30 maiden on the same day and distance. In Ecstasy was 4.4 lengths superior. And as I mentioned, there'll be a few horses that are more than competitive in maiden class bouncing out of that race, including Firelord, who finished 3rd last in that race. But still ran a sub-12 for the last 200. So, yeah, a race to follow.
Pops can find those races, can't he, though?
Oh, he's bang on the money.
Exactly right. Righto, team. We've got 3 very, very astute gentlemen, so we're going to have to get into our work here to get through in under an hour. We want to start at Te Rapa. Race number 4, Steve, the Wig, Noel Wilson Memorial Mile. He's a bit of a legend, Wig, by all accounts. Story about a Shetland pony I read this morning. You can find that online, but run us through this market. Yeah,
so Osaka, I believe is $3.80. Just update graphically. You see 360 there, but Osaka $3.80. Germanicus, Red Hussar $5 each of 2. Sheriff $5.50. Time to Celebrate $8.50. On the Rocks, well played. Double figures on Wednesday. Now trading single figures at $9. Masetto at $11. Raposa Repeater stepping up to the mile for the first time at $16 this prep, and Champagne Princess, the rankie, at $21. So no strong lead. As I mentioned, a firm around number 1 on the Rocks, but Osaka heads the market at 3.8.
Yeah, okay, just eased ever so slightly. BP out to 3.8. Osaka, 3rd up, was running on strongly last time, but it is a competitive mile here.
It is, and I'm pretty keen to leverage off that Easter handicap form that we see with both Osaka and Red Hussar. Both those horses ran well in that race. You know, remember, big field, a lot of horses that were spread across the track in that race out of Pukekohe. And both these runners were very good through the line. Osaka was running 6, was beaten just under the 3 lengths off the impressive winner in Carolina Reaper. And Red Hussar was working home from back in the field, beaten around 4 lengths into 8th position. They were both really encouraging runs. Red Hussar, I've sort of been with him the last couple of starts, just been waiting for him to find that form that he was in practically 12 months ago when he led up to a run in the Easter handicap on off ground. He has won a race here out of Te Rapa, and he gets a kilo off with an informed Joe Cameroon. So I thought he presented as a nice play in the race. I mean, Germanicus is a horse who put in the performance 2 starts ago, which does look to be obviously a key guide with the Brando reference. Then had a crack at the Easter handicap last time to the races and was beaten around the 7-length margin. He also operates well here at this venue, and I think he has to be respected. And it's interesting to see that money around on the Rocks. We saw that victory for him a couple of starts ago to get back into that winning groove, and they do see some weight relief around the source. Maria Sanson claiming the 4 kilograms on the Rocks. But yeah, I was looking towards the bottom here. Numbers 7 and 8 is strong chances.
Yeah, okay. Aidan, are you with that Easter handicap form? Is that where you're sort of heading in this open mile?
Yeah, absolutely. But because the ratings change here, like on the Rocks needs up to be top weight and goes up, 3 kilograms even after that 4 kilogram claim, where horses down the bottom, the Osakas and Red Hussars, aren't having to go up so far. So they're coming in that much better at the weights. Both their performances seem superior than those horses who are, in behind the Germanicus and the On the Rock. So I thought Osaka, third up, he's a horse who's won 3 or 5 at RAPA. Michael McNabb doing the riding. There's just a lot of upside around Osaka, and that was the horse I was with.
Yeah, look, an impressive run. Where do you play Sheriff, Aidan? Just an interesting runner coming from another angle, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got to take a line through the Rotorua race, which was the race that On the Rocks won. So, there's a swing there as well, weight-wise towards Sheriff, but only marginally. I think Sheriff's got to improve. Personally, the win a couple of starts back was okay. Was on going. This is going to be a lot firmer at Te Rapa this weekend.
Okay, how did you frame this market, Steve? What were your initial thoughts here?
It's similar to how the lads have framed it or spoken about coming out of the Easter. I think it's the key form line. Osaka, Red Hussar, they both found themselves in the back third in the Easter off a small or lightweight, both those individuals. Running home comparable closing sectionals. I could make a case Red Hussar could have finished in front of Osaka. In the last 75, Red Hussar got held up. But there would have been not too much between them. I'm not saying he definitely would have finished. She definitely would have finished in front of Osaka. As Aidan mentioned, better in the weights versus Germanicus and also On the Rocks. I think the key around Osaka is back left-handed also. All 5 wins have been left-handed. So I think that's a key variable just to take on with Osaka. Just on Stephen Marsh, last 25 runners, 6 winners at 24%. So again, a stable that's in a little bit of a purple patch of form. Obviously, he's the trainer of Osaka here. Raposa Repeat is an interesting runner. You rewind the clock all the way back. First up this preparation, he won the Legacy Lodge Sprint at Te Rapa, beating horses like the Mascarpones and Rockin' Horses. I know it was over a 1,200 metre trip, and he's at 1,600 today or Saturday. He's at $16. What do you do with Raposa Repeater, gents? Firstly to you, BP. On that first up performance, he'd be right in this, even though he's stepping up in trip for the very first time. Is this a desperate measure, going over 1,600, or is this what this horse is crying out for to get his campaign back on track?
I mean, look, it's start 41 and it's his very first run over 1,600 metres. So, look, it's an interesting ploy, isn't it? I mean, if it was a horse that were destined to be running over 1,600 metres, it would have happened a lot earlier. It would have probably happened 2 years ago, to be honest with you. So, he's just trying to recapture that form. He's trying to find that form, and I think I mentioned it to Stephen Marsh when we interviewed him last week. If he can find anywhere close to that form, he's beaten behind 2 horses that won Group 1s this season. He beat Group 1 horses in the Legacy Lodge in Mascarpone and Rockin' Horse. I just think he's in a bad spot in the weights, and in 1,600 metres, he's just too many red flags, isn't there, for Raposa Repeater, hence why he's at a price of $16. I just keep coming back to Red Hussar and Osaka. I'm pretty keen just to back them both here. I know, look, it's only a field of 9 horses, but with where they sit in the market, one's at $3.50, $3.80, and the other's at $5. I was happy to split bet those 2 horses.
Okay, BP with Osaka and Red Hussar. Any Raposa Repeater love, A-Rod?
You've got to turn the tables 5 lengths on time to break. That's the point. I'm the same with BP, with just thoughts around time to celebrate getting handy in this race. The run last time out was meritorious, and the speed comes from Masetto. It was only beaten half a length in that Group 2 total stakes behind Gino Severini a couple of starts back. So it depends on how this is run, but you'd maybe just consider that as being the variable against those horses that are bringing the superior Easter form.
Okay, where'd you settle in, Aidan, in the final wash-up here?
Yeah, I was with Osaka. On top, clearly enough for me.
Yeah, okay. So BP and Aidan lining up here. Germanicus, Steve, what do we do with Germanicus? I've stopped trying to catch him a while ago. He came out and won very well 2 starts ago, and the run in the Easter wasn't bad.
Again, similar to Osaka, I think he's better left-handed. All his winning form is left-handed, very right-handed, which he found himself in the Easter. Just got in a tricky position on the map in the Easter, and I'm willing to oppose him, as the boys have mentioned, is worse off in the weights. But I will say his mile was a sweet spot, and back left-handed is a positive. Okay,
you've always had a bit of time for Sheriff as well. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, look, I thought I was very disappointed last start at Rotorua. Sheriff, he's back in trip, which I will back up in trip, should I say? That was 1,400. He goes up to the mile here, so I think that's a positive around Sheriff. But yeah, he'd have to improve significantly on his last start performance. Maybe just wanting a little bit of give in the track. He's a hard horse to place. I kind of feel of his issues he's had in the last 2 to 3 years. He wants that fire out of the track, but not too heavy. Just on the track conditions at present, it's a slow 5. Not too much showers to forecast between now and race day. So hopefully we improve to maybe a soft 4 on race day.
Okay, very good. No. Okay, the boys very keen on Osaka and Red Hussar here, and particularly Osaka, the favourite in the Noel Wig Wilson Memorial Mile. Race number 5, guys. The Waikato Equine Veterinary Centre 2-year-old stakes. Steve, the 2-year-old's going over the 1,200 metres. Run us through this market.
Yeah, nice race. 3 horses at the pointy end that have all been well played, including the favourite, Charma Rio, 250, been backed into 220. Lord Cosmos, again well played, 360, got out to $4 on the warm support initially on the favourite, driven back into its original quote of 360. Entraptured, it has always been well played, even on debut, even though it had an SP of double figures, well played, big syndicate involved, 8 into 5. Westwood's gone the other way. Something had to give here. Westwood 5 out to 7. Academy Award 9 out to $13. Mazzolino 13 at a few points to 18, and Uranki is Coppers 16, doubled its quote at $31 at present. So yeah, they're very keen on the top 3, all well played at different stages between Wednesday and where we sit Friday morning.
Yeah, okay, BP, we get a pretty good line around these 2 favourites. Lord Cosmos was first up last start and will probably improve, but Chamario, no, how am I saying it, Steve?
Chamario, I think it is.
Chamario, yeah.
Chamario, okay, thanks, BP. Looked pretty impressive on the eye.
Look, he did, and he brought brilliant form to that race, didn't he? And he just dictated terms. I guess the most surprising thing was the price. I mean, he was a runner that it really drifted, didn't he? I mean, the money came for the Mark Walker horse. Was it the Savabeel horse that Joe Cameroon was riding, the Waikato stud horse? I mean, they were bouncing out of trees for that runner, and it just meant that something had to give in that market, and it was this horse who, in all of his starts, he has been in or near lead. I mean, he's got Maven Bell form, who has won a Group 1 and placed in a Group 1 this season. Look, he was beaten 3 lengths behind that horse at Te Rapa. So he brought really good form into the race and he cleaned them up. So what's to say he's not going to do it again 7 days later? Lord Cosmos is going to be that improver for sure. A horse that went into that race as a more favoured option than Chamario and has a barrier draw of 6 of 7. I am interested in Enraptured, runner number 4. I was really taken by her win in a race that should stand up. That was a very strong midweek 2-year-old race out of Matamata. We've already seen Diagon Alley, who was beaten in that race, come out and be a race winner. And you'd imagine a lot of other Te Akau runners that were in that race are horses we're going to see in the early part of a 3-year-old season. And with it being a challenge syndicate horse, no doubt Stephen will sort of identify this as well. The money has come in the early stages of the week, $8 into $5. So syndicate members are keen to get involved. But I can understand why. I was really taken by how she won that race.
Yeah, they certainly are. There's no doubt about that. Stephen can touch on that in a minute. Aidan, what are your initial thoughts here in the 2-year-old?
Well, I guess we're going to find out exactly where these horses stand. It's interesting, isn't it? Because Speed Map, again, is very much matter of fact. The 2 speed horses in the race, Chamario and Westwood, will just find their spots again, you'd think. And from there, they've got an advantage. I think both of them were comprehensive winners off the front last time out. You have to like what you saw from Chamario. Yeah, Lord Cosmos was hitting the line strongly and ran maybe quicker closing section. I think quickest the last 8, 6 and 4 of the race. But does need to improve a little bit to catch Chamario, who just seems to be getting better and better. I was taken by what I saw from Westwood last time out. So, just going for those 2 off the front and thinking that they'll be hard to beat.
Yeah, okay. Aidan's mapped at the Westwood and Chamario off the front, Steve. Look, Lord Cosmos was more favoured than Chamario last time, but it didn't work out that way. And you need to talk about that in Raptured money because there's been plenty of it.
Yeah, well, let's go back and rewind the clock 6 days ago to the semi-final at Te Rapa last weekend, where Chamario won. Look, the race went out first 600, 36.57, 4.4 lengths below par, so naturally suiting on-speed runners with the last 634.46, 1.2 lengths below par. So out of that race, key horses, Lord Cosmos, who finished second, from barrier 11. I thought it was a peach of a ride from Opie, from barrier 11. You go back and watch the replay. You go back and watch the replay, something
Wow.
me, please.
Yeah.
Opie got it in a sweet spot just forward of midfield with cover, and I don't think he could have run it any better, even though it's finished second. He did run home the fastest last 6 and 400 splits, encouraging considering the race shape. But I did feel the official winning margin, 2.3 lengths, was slightly misleading. Ryan Elliott just sat up on Shamario in the last maybe 75 metres. And if you look through and past the line, the winner was holding that margin. So I think he still had a little bit to give with Ryan Elliott sitting up in the last maybe 50 to 75 metres. In Raptured, interesting runner, as I mentioned, big syndicate, was well played first up at Matamata on the back of some nice trials, plenty, even though it had an SP of around about $10. Solid win on the eye, just race win rated equal to standard, so nothing unbelievable on the clock. So when you're measuring that performance up against what we saw last Saturday at Te Rapa, Shamario race, 5 lengths inferior it was. 5 lengths inferior in Traptured versus Shamario. So it's got to improve 3 or 4 lengths, which they can do, juveniles. We see that. Little sample size. I've only had 1 or 2 starts, they can really spike in terms of a figure, but it does have to improve in Traptured. Yeah, I priced that individual a lot longer, around about a 10% price. It's currently trading at $5.50 in Traptured. So, yeah, willing to take a little bit of a set. I'm pretty keen on the 1 and the 5. I thought the 5 Westwood holds the second best figure in behind the 1 in terms of race wins, Westwood. And I do believe, as Aidan mentioned, sits in the first 2, possibly leads, with Chamario sitting second outer.
Yeah, okay. So the Westwood's been a little bit easy, early doors, but you have it in play here, Westwood, obviously.
Yeah, I do. On the back of that last start win, again, one against the market, or defied the market expectation there, because it did ease on that day. Look, it's obviously got talent because it's had 3 trials to date and it's been super in all 3 trials, winning them, and it had money in its first 2 starts, but disappointed on race day. So look, it only have to replicate what it produced last start, and it's right in the finish. And the key about it is that it puts itself in the race. It will possibly lead in front of the favourite, being 1-2 in the map. And it's got winning form at Te Rapa, which is also crucial, Westwood. So yeah, I had that well in front, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of a firmer late on race day. Okay,
interesting. $7 currently, Westwood. BP, do we need to worry about anything else in this market? The Academy Awards, the Mazzolinos, the Coppers, or are we focusing on the sharp end here?
Look, I would be wary of Mazzolino. I just like the horse's trial. It was a very good trial recently, and we know how Stephen Marsh can win this race. He has a good record in recent times in taking this race out, and he has 2 in the Race Academy Award and also Mazzolino. Mazzolino sat outside leader, was beaten about a long head, but there was 6 3/4 lengths back to the 3rd horse in that trial, and really she wasn't pushed along too hard. Craig Grill's ride, so she might be just one if there is that real red-hot speed. She takes a nice spot in behind and can be running on into that 3rd or 4th position. So I'd be keeping some tabs on that runner. I think Westwood leads. I mean, she is just a very fast horse out of Crepe de Chine. I mean, if you remember Crepe de Chine, she used to roar in front. She had loads of gas, and this horse is showing that same sort of speed in her race day performances as well. So drawn out there, the best place for her is to be able to find that top position. So yeah, she's in an interesting place in the market with where she sits at the moment at $6.50. So if you're liking the horse, maybe it's about pouncing now around $6.50, because something's got to give here again, doesn't it? Where this market is so strong around Chamario and the money that's come for Enraptured. So $6.50 may not be the worst little bit of spec bet around the race, but I thought Chamario, with the way that he won his semi-final last weekend, he is the one to beat.
Yeah, there's no doubt, I would say, off that performance, Aidan, he's the one to beat. How would you attack this from a betting perspective, Aidan?
Oh, I think it's Chamario, whichever way. Both of them by Charm Spirit. Just note those 2 we're speaking about strongest of all. It'd be interesting to see if Westwood does cross from the wide game. That will mean that Ryan Elliott is probably pocketed in the trail, because I don't know if they'll let him off the fence from 2, because there's just no speed from barrier 1. So if they do press forward with Westwood and some horse then can go up and keep him in the pocket, then that might be just as undoing, which would give the advantage to Westwood. But all things being equal, Chamario should be winning this. That's the way I'd be playing it straight out.
Okay, straight out on the favourite here, Steve. You're probably in agreement. I thought Lord Cosmos, is he going to struggle to turn the tables here in your belief? Because I would expect some natural improvement, obviously.
Yeah, just on last week's assessment, hard to improve that margin within 7 days. And as I mentioned, I think the winning margin flattened Lord Cosmos just on Ryan Elliott sitting on the eventual winner in Chamario. So, no, I'm with Chamario. I reckon Elliott, he'll be on the ball here. Westwood from that wide gate, if he can come across, I think there'll be that genuine margin between him and Chamario to peel off, come off the rail and sit one outer in the map. So, it's an intriguing one. I do think they could easily Quinella that race, the two Charm Spirits, but I'm with Chamario.
Okay. And you expect that enraptured money just to sort of ease off as we get closer?
Well, it's up to the traders. In terms of liabilities, there's a decent liability naturally with its high lay price v the top three in the market. So it's up to the traders purely, but naturally I think it will be quite soft in the last 5 to 10 minutes. But if we're losing a stack, the traders might hold firm on its price, but that remains to be seen.
Okay. And we've called it about 6 different things in this little segment already. Chamario. Chamario.
Yeah, Chamario.
Okay. Yeah, no, look, it's a very Renew for an off situation. Exactly right, BP. Okay, guys, we're going to head down south. Riccarton got a great card of racing. We want to start in race number 5, and that's the Berkeley Stud Champagne Stakes, Steve. Run us through this for the 2-year-olds. Oh, no, is it for the 2-year-olds? Of course it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, Defiant. I'm just going to bring it up here. Was it race 5?
Number 5.
So I can see my fluctuations here. You can see it there, screen, Defiant. Clear fave. $2.80 we posted on Wednesday. Been backed into $2.30. Defiant, the daughter by Tavistock. This is dramatic. $3.80 out of turn to $4. Then there's a separation headed by Redmond. Just brings a different form line. 8 out of point to 9. Turf 4 double figures 11. Looking at some of these horses in the middle market, a little bit of specking around Mululaba. How do you say? How you pronounce it? 18 out to 21, firm back into 16. May Wecker, 16 out a couple of turns to $18. The prices were a little bit nervous around the 10, knowing that it's a well-bred out of that Terry Ray stable, but a little bit soft, 16 out to 18. But obviously they're very keen at the point end of the market, headed by number 6 in Defiant.
Making you work here, Mululaba, Mary Wecker, Tapple Doodle Doo. There's a few.
Good luck, Matt Cross.
A few tongue twisters here, but look, Defiant BP, the last 2 wins have been very good. Looks the obvious form, but we know these 2-year-olds can improve at short notice, don't we?
Yeah, certainly, and I think maybe the improver of what we saw from the last meeting is the second favourite, and this is dramatic. Of course, we saw the runner take its place in a Karaka Million, and that was over 1,000 metres and goes up to 1,200 metres, and that's going to be a big help for that horse. But Defiant just brings, look, the right form. Look, she's a daughter of Tavistock. She's won her last 2. She was brilliant last time to the races. Who to say that extra 200 metres isn't going to be an issue for the horse? So with how the horse went off a wide gate and put them away by 2.5 lengths, look, she is the one to beat, and that's why she is the favourite in the race. I'm guessing we need to probably get to the man that covers the South Island form thoroughly, and that is Aidan Rodley. Aidan, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I'm clearly with Defiant. She's been so good in those last 2. Both times she's been caught 3 wide on speed, but been able to kick. Obviously, the step up to 1,200 metres is a different dynamic, but she's run the quickest last 8, 6, 4 and 2 in both of those last 2 races. And that last start race at Riccarton was, I know we lost a horse. I think we had 4 late scratchings in the race, including Guitar Man, who I thought was probably the overs in this Champagne Stakes as well. But her performance was just top notch, and she was very good the start before. She chased home Turf 4, who's a rival this weekend in the debut second, but she'd be pretty competitive even in that race at Te Rapa, I reckon, this weekend to find. So she's really hard to beat here. It's, again, not an easy draw for Rohamadu to contend with, but shoot racing's never too much of an issue. And that's hence why I think why this is dramatic. Isn't too long again. I agree the extra 200 metres helps. This is dramatic, who was really strongly backed in that last race, the NZB insurance race, and is strongly respected in this market again as well, but very, very Defiant.
Okay, well, how do you roll up that Riverton form, Aidan? Because there's a few coming out of a couple of Riverton races there. Redmond, Kikimora, Mululaba, I'll get it right in the end, and Tapple Doodle Doo. What about this Riverton 2-year-old form?
I think you go Malulabar, isn't it? With that horse.
Mululaba, very good, yeah.
Malulabar, I think.
Yeah, very good.
Isn't it? Yeah. Anyhow, so you take a line through the previous run from Redmond when the horse was fourth at Riccarton. That was in behind Defiant that day when fairly well back, but Kikimora had run second day, and all the money at Riverton was on Redmond, who started like a $2.60 favourite, despite having run fourth and being fairly well beaten by Kikimora. And Kikimora got bad, a horrid trip down there, but there was just no money for the horse. Malula Bar, I thought, ran pretty well, and there was one other who was in that race as well who ran third. Must have run fourth actually, which was Tabble Doodle Doo, of course, who was fair just in behind them. You got to respect Redmond because the on the clock was very good as well. Despite doing it from the front and having an advantage that way, still ran the quickest 800, 600, 400, 200 as well. But then you've got to bring it back to that previous form line of Defiant, and probably just needs to improve a little bit too much. So I've got him at fifth selection in this race, just in behind the top four. Expect him to run well and expect him to be a key component in the speed map as well. But I really like Defiant. I think she's progressive. She would measure up in the north for mine. I think she can be a horse who can go on and be a 1,600 metre horse in the spring as well.
Let's look at the form, Steve. The Defiant, this is dramatic form ahead of perhaps the Riverton stuff. But yeah, she was pretty impressive, wasn't she, Defiant?
Yes, she was. And there's no dramas. 1,200. Look at the pedigree by Tavistock out of a Zavabeel mare. Her best work was the last furlong, breaking 12 seconds, suggesting 1,200. No dramas with the favourite. This is dramatic. You go back to her debut win over the hill here at Taraniko. It was a fantastic figure, a real strong figure, which marked her as a good horse, and that's why the camp took her to Ellerslie in the Karaka Million. Just things didn't work out. She missed the start. First time right-handed at HQ. Just put a line through that performance. Went back to the CD. Trentham performance was okay, and then headed down to Riccarton and ran second to the current fave. And yeah, it was a bit unlucky. I don't think it would have beaten Defiant, but deserves to be clearly in that second line. This is dramatic, but if it can replicate anything it produced at Tahuraniko, it's right in this race. It has regressed slightly in its last 2 to 3 runs on the back of its first up or debut win, but I just want to respect that a little bit. And Redmond, as Aidan mentioned, was pretty good on the clock, albeit a different form line here at Riverton. It's hard horse to knock. The figure was right up to what Defiant produced at Riccarton last start. So you just got to bring that form to Riccarton, where it hasn't raced it has raced in its couple of starts leading into its win at Riverton. But look, you go back 2 starts ago, it was clearly beaten by Defiant. So it's got to improve there, but just on its figure alone, in isolation at Riverton, it's right up to what Defiant produced last start. So no knock there. But yeah, Defiant looks to be well backed and has been 280 into 230.
Yeah, okay, BP. Where did you settle on the end in the 2-year-old Champagne?
Look, the race last time to the races when these horses met Defiant and This Is Dramatic, there was, look, a key point of the race. And as Stephen said, I don't think This Is Dramatic would have still beaten Defiant, but I think the margin would have been a lot closer. There was a key point in the race where I think the runner actually got shunted by the stablemate who's finished into 3rd position, but just looking to try and pierce between horses, got stopped in its ground and then had to go again. So it was a really good run from This Is Dramatic. So extra 200 metres is going to be ideal, and she'll be finishing strong like she did in that race at Tahuraniko. So she's a great play for maybe a top 2 bet. If you are really keen on Defiant and you believe the horse can win, instead of maybe taking the place bet, you could look at maybe taking the top 2 option. And if I quickly try and, I haven't got it in front of me, I'm not that quick in the moment, but that might be a bet if you're looking to try and play something different in the race.
Yeah, okay. Aidan, where did you sort of settle? We haven't talked about Mary Wecker. How about those trials?
Yeah, the trials were good. Chased home Turf War, who's a race rival though at Ashburton, was beaten 3.5 lengths, was a narrow trial winner prior, so it does improve a little bit. Turf War was an interesting runner because just went probably a little bit too hard in the Defiant. This is Dramatic Chavot race last time out. I see they've put concussion plates on. A lot of trainers that we spoke to last time after that meeting said it was really firm. It was quite a hard track. So how the 2-year-olds have come through it, some of them been on water walkers and things since. But Turf War was good on debut, beat home Defiant. So you've got to have respect about it, especially if the tempo is not so hard. I've got the horse in the trail this time round, so maybe just a better chance from there. Guitar Man's the one I thought at a big price was worth considering. did run a really good third on debut. That was in behind Defiant and Kikimura. Then was late crashed after getting away from the jockey and all the attendants twice at the barriers last time out, and sent back to the trials and won that trial by 3 lengths on the poly track. I thought was the leader in the race, and from there at $14, some sort of chance. But everything points to Defiant here. I just think she's superior, and I think she could be something pretty special. So yeah, I've got her clearly on top, and she's a win bet in the race for mine.
Yeah, very good. $2.38, and happy to take that. Steve, is that where you'd land here, Defiant in the end, or you think you'd have a little go at this as dramatic?
No. I'd be leaving the race alone myself. But look, I think it's all about prices, and Defiant's getting to a price where I think she's just a little bit skinny at $2.30. I think she probably starts between $2.30 and original price $2.80, but that remains to be seen. But yeah, nice race, and as Aidan touched on, I think one or two could bounce out of this race and be more than competitive as 3-year-olds, whether they come up the north or let the Northerners come down to Christchurch and target the 1,000, 2,000 guineas and be a good representation to the South Island trainers.
Okay, very good. The boys pretty keen on the favourite Defiant there in the Champagne Stakes, race number 5 at Riccarton. Breaking news, Steve. Breaking news. I'm just seeing it on my computer here.
Yeah.
You can let the customers know what we know now.
Mario is scratched.
Yes.
I was about to say the wrong name.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
Mario is scratched. Just send it through from the traders.
Yep.
36% win deduction, 23% top 3 deduction. So that really does reshuffle the market. We might touch on that market before we come to close on the show.
Yes.
Have you got it there?
Yeah, I have got it here. It hasn't quite. It's suspended currently.
Suspended,
the boys
okay,
are
so we'll touch on it in the next maybe 10, 15 minutes. But breaking
that
news.
changes the race, doesn't it? That changes
Absolutely.
the race massively, doesn't it?
We want to get on Westwood, don't we, Pops?
Wow. Yeah.
Aiden?
It makes sense. He's going to get a clear, easy lead now. And what Stephen was talking about had the figures from last time out as well. So it really does favour Westwood, that defection.
Okay, we'll have a touch on that market after the next that we want to have a look at. That's a bit of a shocking news. I don't know what the situation is, obviously, but yeah, we've lost Chamario out of that 2-year-old race at Te Rapa, 36% deduction. Race number 7, Steve, as I turn to it. The Daphne Bannon Memorial Great Easter Stakes over the 1,400 metres. Run us through this market.
Headed by Kamai War, who was very impressive last start. 480 been backed into 450, so we went up 480 each of 2, Kamai War and Live Drama. Live Drama remains in that second line at 480. Monza Secuto, $6, hasn't budged since the opening call. Shares that same price with Harbourside. Chiquito, $8.50, Ocean Point, $9. Double figures around Scarfy at $12. Street Fighting Man, $15. Rock Sensation at a $16 quote. And best of the rest is Severine at $18. So slight lead around Kaimar War. Draws the ace, has Tina, that jockey, aboard with Lance Robinson, who I'll touch on in terms of his recent strike rate. But at 480, he's been backed into 450.
Okay, Kaimar War, very impressive. It'll come to you, Aidan. Kaimar War, impressive last time. Goes up to the 1,400 metres here. What are your thoughts here in the Great Easter?
Really like what he was doing last time out. He came from well back and wide, but he did have cover. But he really attacked the line nicely, so it did it well. And both times on the clock, he's been good because he'd run second in behind Chili Philly in a key form race leading into that as well. So last time out, quickest last 400, second quickest last 600, and the start before we were making more of a sustained run over 1,000 metres, ran the quickest 800 and second quickest last 600 as well. So the difference this time round is obviously the weights goes up 58 and a half, and you just wonder, you know, he's an 8-year-old who, while he's been competitive the whole way through, you know, getting up to 60 does make a difference, especially when you're up against sort of horses such as Chiquito, who, you know, comes in, I think, 2.5 kilograms better, or 1.5 kilograms better at least, and even the stablemates, I think, 2.5 kilograms better. Live Drama, who was a little bit unlucky, just clearing traffic after getting into traffic on the turn and then clearing traffic in the straight as well. So those two horses are definitely coming in a touch better at the weight. He's a little more speed, though, through Monza Sequito, Ocean Point, and Street Fighting Man's the other one who, from a wide gate, I think they've got no real choice but to go forward as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting race. Just if Harbourside can tuck in, then that'll mean that Chiquito should be able to tuck in. And if Chiquito can get a soft run here, I think she's the one to beat. on what we've seen of her overall record and what we saw last time out when she only narrowly missed second and did it in really good style. Something of a Riccarton specialist as well.
Yeah, okay. 8.5, Aidan. Would that be tempting you, Chiquito?
I've got her on top. So, yep, definitely tempting.
Yeah, okay, more than tempting by the sound of it. BP, a competitive 1400 here, the Great Easter.
Yes, and Aidan's, I think, found the right sort of form line there from last time to the races. I didn't mind the horse that ran second and behind Kemar War last time. And Monza Secuto, a horse who does, obviously sit in a better place in the weights, as Aidan said there as well, with that weight swing on Kemar War from last time to the races. So that's going to be a massive assistance for her chances. She sits around that $6 mark. Corey Campbell takes the ride. Chiquito also in that middle market, finishing third in that race last time to the races is backable. So it's a race that screams having a bet in the middle market, and that's where I'm looking at the moment, those horses that ran the placings and behind Kemar War when last presented.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. A number of them between sort of $5 and $10 here in this one, Steve. So, how are we looking here and where do you think we should be going?
I just want to touch firstly on Lance Robinson. 5 winners from his last 25 runners at 20%. He obviously has a couple in the race, including Kemar War. With Kemar War, I think he's got a real short sprint. So he'll have to be held up perfectly by Tina and then have one last crack at them over the 7 furlongs. I am keen around Harbourside. Just comes slightly from a different form line, 6th in the Easter Cup. Performed this campaign, links up with many in the race prior to an Easter Cup 6th, and no knockback to 7 furlongs with 53.5.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a number of ways you could cut it here, Aidan. You boys have all, you've all got a bit of a different take on this one, the Great Easter.
Yeah, Harbourside is an interesting runner and another horse who does get to go forward as well. Just that one striker just hasn't been there lately, has it? But no knock on. She's been racing really well. He's been racing pretty well, and he is back in distance and out of the stakes race. So there's enough there. My feeling on Chiquito though is she's just so progressive. She's won 6 of 15. The barrier is a real concern. That 9, where does she get to from there? If she is poked out 3 wide, then obviously that's more of a worry. But I did get her getting a spot. So if she can get it, and gets soft run sort of in 4th or 5th spot, then I just think she's a horse who has measured up in some pretty good company, and this isn't the best of Chiquito yet either. I think we're going to see her get in to be a group horse further down the track.
By Vespa, Steve, Chiquito. Are we underrating Vespers? Carolina Reaper by Vespa?
Carolina Reaper, yeah.
Going well?
He's doing a good job. He's doing a good job. Look, used to stand at Wellfield. I'm not sure where he's standing at the moment. Okay. Boys might be able to help me there, but originally, obviously, was standing at Wellfield stud, but...
He was partly owned by Kevin Hickman, so I know he had a stint at Valachi, but I think Valachi are now getting out of their stallion, so I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, Vespa anyway. They're Chiquito, so Aidan pretty keen on the 8.5 around Chiquito. Where did you land in the end, Pops?
Look, I'm looking at a little bet here on Monte Secuto. Sixes on the top, or to win the race, and 175 top 4. So that might be sort of the option I might be looking towards there and trying to find somewhere in this market. I think it's a great race for the quaddie. We've already mentioned sort of 3 or 4 different runners, so we might need to just take a little bit of a spread here because no doubt there'll be a nice little guaranteed quaddie coming up on both our Saturday meetings. Yeah,
no, I'm sure there will be. And yeah, as you say, we're going to need a little bit of a spread. Pop's keen on Monza Secuto and Aidan pretty keen on Chiquito. Steve, if you had to have a crack, you'd be leaning toward Harbourside here.
No strong opinion here. I am in probably the number 1's camp in Kemar War. As I mentioned, from barrier 1 should be able to get a nice smother. As I mentioned, he's got a sharp sprint, so it doesn't last too long, maybe a furlong at best. So Tino will just have to hold him up, and bang for the last furlong finish over the top. But yeah, no strong opinion.
Okay, and live drama for our winner Matt. Remember him, live drama?
Picked it out last start, ran it on a 6th.
Yeah, it was a bit unlucky, as Aidan mentioned, so live drama in the race as well. Okay, gents, we want to push on here now. We better go back, Steve. We better go back. We better have a look back at Te Rapa just quickly. We probably won't be able to come to this graphically. Of course we can. The boys there in Auckland doing a tremendous job. The Lord Cosmos sits at 2.5 now, Steve, I think.
You're $2.50 ahead of Westwood, so the map completely changes here. Look, she'll still lead, which we predicted, but she won't have that initial pressure in the first 200 to 300 metres. Enraptured at $3.80 in that third line, as we mentioned early doors, the best back runner and the biggest liability for the TAB with that natural high lay price. Academy Award friendless at $8. Mozzolino also a little bit soft at 13, and Coppers, it was roughly around that $21, $26 price with the deductions, gets into 16. So, yeah, intriguing now. Thoughts, boys? Where are we heading?
Well, Westwood. I'm keen to have a bet on Westwood now with where there's going to be that the horse has got the early speed and lack of pressure in the first half of the race is going to be key for her, really. And then maybe it's down to a horse that can get a little bit closer. I think if Lord Cosmos and Enraptured, those type of horses, don't let her get away too far and can have that last shot at her in the concluding stages, well, then that's the key to the race for them. But, yeah, Westwood, $3 now with her burning to the front.
Yeah, Aidan, I saw you nodding in agreement there.
Yeah, I thought that was the main danger to Chamario anyhow, and obviously we're getting that thought now that it'll be an even softer lead. But yeah, BP made some valid points. Some of those horses will be just maybe a little bit closer, and without the two horses going head to head potentially from the front, then maybe the speed does come out of this a little bit as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It becomes even more tactical now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That Enraptured result hasn't improved with the Chamario money coming out of that system. So, yeah, Enraptured well backed by the Challenge Syndication team, and 3.8 for Enraptured currently speaking. Right, I'm going to do Paul Moati's job as he's decided to leave us in the lurch. Bonus back blitz on Saturday, guys. And I've upped it to 18 races again. It used to be 15, I think, or no, 16. We're up to 18. Refund if you run it for second, third or fourth at 6 venues, races 1 to 3, Riccarton, Te Rapa, Gosford, Gold Coast, Morfettville and Caulfield. Bonus back on the first 3 at all those venues, so 18 bonus back races to sink your teeth into on Saturday. No excuses, guys, with the bonus back blitz. Okay, viewer listener question time. We've got a question from Hadley Wood. It's quite a good generic question. I'll go around the grounds here. What originally got you guys into racing? Thanks, Hadley, for sending that in. I'll start with you, Steve, where you're sitting next to me. What originally, work on our spelling, got you into racing?
Family, really. The old man, the uncle, been breeding horses since early 80s, so it was in the household for the majority of growing up. Wasn't really into it in terms of it was there in the background. The racing was on the TV a lot. I used to speak about the parents and the uncle around betting and pedigree and breeding. And they actually stood a stallion called Globetrotter in the early 90s. He had 2 or 3 seasons at stud, but he passed away in unfortunate circumstances. But so, yeah, basically in the family. Yeah. I didn't get quite into it until after my university days, and then I went over to Australia with 3 or 4 mates in the early 2000s, and I ended up playing just a bit of social league, but the social league was programmed on a Sunday. So Saturday, the team environment would go to the races in Sydney. So we'd go to Rose Hill and Randwick, and it's just a different ball game there. It's a religion. They all go there, young age, and I just decided to go and go with the crowd. And I can remember it was when Sunline was running, and she was at the peak of her powers, winning Doncasters with top weights. So there was a lot to gravitate towards the industry, but that was probably the turning point. And with my original background, it all made sense. So yeah, that's probably the starting point.
Yeah, how'd you back up on Sunday for the league? All right.
Yeah, we battled. Yeah,
okay. BP, you're what originally got you going here? I know you're a big Hawke's Bay man, and I'm sure that plays a part.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, in terms of family, we didn't have horses, so we didn't race horses. We didn't have horses, like we weren't around them. So purely from a family through grandparents and obviously through my dad, it was going to the TAB on a Saturday morning and placing your bets, going home and listening to them on the radio, of course, originally, and then when TV came around, that was unbelievable. I mean, I used to remember when races used to be on TV1, I would get a VHS tape out and record it, and I've got old Great Northern Hurdles that used to be on TV1, presented by Philip Leishman and those sort of things. And I was drawn to it. And I mean, I was really young when I was watching those sort of things. And so it was probably more from the love of the horse and also for the love of having a bet. And I was so young anyway then that I was drawn to it then. So I was pretty much doomed from about the age of 6, really. But then going to the races, so that part of it was great and ingrained in me. And then going to the races and seeing the horses and seeing the jockeys, and as I related beforehand, trying to go and meet Noel Harrison, trying to see those jockeys, and then seeing, horses like Rough Habit and Surfers Paradise, Viander Cross, Calm Harbour, being at Hawke's Bay and seeing those horses, it just makes you want to love the sport even more. And certainly Hawke's Bay was that breeding ground for me through some of those early spring carnival races, and then when it got to the big dog stuff, when I was sort of at high school, is when they produced the Spring Carnival Triple Crown series. There was a lot of syndicates being run out of high school around that time. So, yeah, loved it from a very young age and obviously still do now.
Hey, Rod?
Yep, pretty similar to the boys, really. Just obviously Dad had an interest and he wasn't a big bettor or anything. Same thing as BP, no a real family background with horses or anything, and then getting along to the races, especially Stratford back in the old days, used to have the 2-day meeting, New Year's Day, and either the 3rd or 4th of January as well, and would always rock up to that with a bunch of mates and things as well. So yeah, I think it's very similar sort of the background, and then the other thing that probably got me a little bit was Daily News in Taranaki had a pretty good racing page run by a few different guys through the years, but that always sort of attracted me as well, and I like the idea of being able to contribute one day, and so that's eventually the path I went down, became a racing journalist. So yeah, interesting. What about you, Thad? What was yours?
Well, it was an Aussie Kiwi thing for me when I was growing up. I mean, my first memories are Kiwi in the Melbourne Cup, and so that it was the Kiwis, the giant killers, that used to go over to Australia and compete against the Australians and beat the Australians, and that's where my love sort of sprung from. Bone Crusher in '86, I was a young man at that stage, and even Empire Rose, I can remember sort of in those mid to late '80s. It was that going over the Kiwis, competing, boxing above our weight as we do, and supporting Kiwis in Australia that got me stuck into it. Dad had an interest in a few horses as well, so we followed those, and then I just loved reading form as well, but then forming an opinion around after reading form and then trying to back your opinion. And that's what I always enjoyed about it. It was trying to formulate something by reading form and then having that come to fruition in a race. So I just enjoyed that part of it. So it just all grew from there. But the Kiwis, Kiwi, Bone Crusher and Empire Rose basically got me into it. Send us in your questions, guys. tlufeedback@gmail.com. Hadleywood will get a $100 bonus bet thrown into his account, and you could also get a $100 bonus bet thrown into your account if you send us a question into tlufeedback@gmail.com. Okay, guys, best bets time. We'll come to you, BP, first. Where is your best bet for the weekend?
I'm going to go to Te Rapa, race number 2. Really like the chances of Tavia, horse who performs well at this venue, and will just love the fact that there's a very small field with lots of pressure. I mean, there are horses in here that want to be buzzing forward. If you go to Master Park, for instance, who led fresh up 2 starts ago, went out to an almighty lead in that race and was run down by Tavia. There is a couple of other horses in here that want to go forward, the likes of Diamond Pegasus. Helena Baby's an interesting runner in that race too. Of course, a Group 1 place getter in a Tarzino has had a couple of trials. Manrico likes to go forward. That should really help this horse. And as I said, with it being a small field, this horse competed in sort of 10, 12, 14 horse fields. Should not be too far off them with a nice bit of genuine speed. So, yeah, I thought that was a good bet. $2.80 around Tavia.
Okay. Very good, $2.80. Tavia, good chance, Steve. You
absolutely,
had a
absolutely. Yeah, I think you got to forget. They tried to just hunt it up and put it a few pairs closer at our pony and just got out of its comfort zone over race to touch off a strong tempo. So I think they'll naturally go back and rely on that tempo up front, and it's definitely good enough to finish over the top of them.
Yeah, we've been
loves Te Rapa, loves the joint.
Yeah, right. We've been flying too with these best bets, BP. I haven't even mentioned that. Did you get yours up last week?
No, thank you, Thad. Good stuff. Big Mike won. Big Mike won.
Big
so
Mike, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry.
I'm
Yes,
guessing
yes,
you're feeling
yes,
that
yes.
that was my best bet, and it wasn't. But we've got the T-shirts printed. Hopefully, we'll have them for next week's show. Big Mike lines up in the Rotorua Cup.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry, Pops. Big Mike.
Can
Absolutely.
Big Mike jump, BP? Did I ask you this last week? Can he jump, or is he just going to retire off on the flat?
No, they'll look after him. I don't think they don't. He doesn't know them anything really, does he? So no, they'll look after him. And look, I think he can, but I don't think they'll be doing that.
Okay, Aidan. Thank you for joining us. Obviously, where's your best bet? Where do we attack? Or where do we attack on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm just going back to a race we've already spoken about, that being the Champagne Stakes, and I really did define. I know Stephen's saying that we might be getting unders at 230 at the moment. Obviously backed in from 280 on opening, but there's just so much to like about what she's done in her last two, and I don't think she's stopped yet for starters. And as well as that, the extra 200 metres being a Tavistock filly out of a Savabeel mare, there's just so much to like about her. She's been dominant in the last couple, and I can't see that stopping again this weekend.
She savaged the line there, didn't she, in that replay?
Yeah, that was 2 starts back, and I thought she was even better last time out. And you make excuses for This Is Dramatic, but I still don't think that This Is Dramatic would have beaten Defiant. And we go through all the form lines in the race. She's basically beaten them all before. So she's undoubtedly the yardstick, and I thought at even money she was okay. So Stephen's saying at 230, it's unders. It's a definite warning, because Stephen's been so good with his numbers lately as well. But I'm pretty keen to stick with her.
Okay, Steve, we've got 2 minutes. I think your best bet might have been in Chamario.
It was.
If I'm saying it correctly.
Where'd you go? Look, there's a meeting today at OTAKI. Now
for
this
our
horse
Friday
has won.
Viewers, for our Friday viewers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So live and exclusive only. A horse that's only won 3 races from 29 starts, but the Seagull.
Oh, yes.
Just going on its last start performance, it produced a big number. There's been 2 or 3 horses that have bounced out in behind the Seagull when it won at the Bay, that has gone on to do the job and won a race, including Kafif, albeit a high weight. I think he's just got an edge against his rivals here in race 6 today at OTAKI in the rating 74.22. He'll rely on genuine tempo up front, but I think it will be there. $3.50. I marked him around about that quote with the over round. He's round about where he is. He could drift just purely on his overall profile, but at 3.5, I'm keen around the Seagull.
Okay, Seagull 3.5. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Aidan, for stepping in. As you always do, you're a more than able substitute, and many would say you've got Paul Moati under pressure.
I just appreciate being able to come in. I saw you had a tweet yesterday about the progression of a female rugby player in different positions, and I related to that more in the time zone. I'm thinking, maybe one day I can work up to be a starter for the league.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think I ended up at a prop, started in the midfield, ended up a prop. BP, thanks for your efforts, as always. Good luck over the weekend.
Thanks, Thad. Yes, and look forward to the Kiwis competing out of the Gold Coast. A lot of horses there, of course. Tony Pike lines up Slipper Island. We've seen Caventina Bay and a number of other Kiwis. And Nom de Plume, Sunday, Sunshine Coast for Robbie Patterson.
Yeah, good point. We haven't had a chance to touch on the Gold Coast. And Kentucky Derby this weekend, which is a race Aidan has very fond memories of a couple of years ago. We won't go back to him, but authentic 2 years ago. I'm sure he's looking forward to the Kentucky Derby on Sunday. Steve, thanks for your efforts as always.
Thanks, Thaddeus.
Thanks for joining us. And thank you for joining us again on the Leg Up. We'll see you in 7 days' time.